Hey everyone, Simon here. I hope you're having a great Friday and enjoying the sunshine and the Easter break. Not that it feels like any different to other day to me. So our free Friday Q&A panel talk, we've got Millie from Sober Girl Society joining us. And we've got Sober Dave, who's the Instagram legend of sobriety. So
Legend.
You are a legend. So thank you both for coming on and giving up your time, because it's just such an awesome thing to do. And around the coronavirus, so many of us in this sort of circle, if you like, are providing support to others and sharing tips and tactics, because it's a tough time. So I guess a good place to start would be, like, let's start with you, Millie. How are you finding it during this lockdown and this kind of challenging period?
You know what? It's been really interesting, because I think being sober, you've already kind of learned a few good tools and things to kind of deal with stressful situations or anxious situations or even like boredom. So I kind of feel like sobriety has prepared me for something like this in a way. But at the same time, it's obviously quite triggering, because there's like a lot of, wine memes are everywhere, and obviously it is really stressful and there's literally nothing to do. So kind of half and half. I'm just taking it every day as it comes, really, because one day I'm like, oh, this is lovely, like I've wanted some rest for ages, and then another day I'm like, oh, this is the most boring thing ever, I need to get out the house. So kind of goes up and down.
And Dave, what about you? How are you coping with this change in lifestyle?
Yeah, I agree with you, Millie, actually, that I think if I was still drinking now, I'd really be struggling now, because all the pubs are shut and everything, it would be more and more drinking indoors now, and with the family around, I'd be waking up thinking to myself, I'd have the anxiety of when I could start drinking and the knock-on effects of that. So as you say, Millie, I think this has put us in good stead for these quiet periods that we've had to fill before. And I've broken the day down into small bits, really, because some days I wake up and I'm really lethargic and I can't be bothered to do anything. And other days I wake up and I'm full of beans. I'm thinking, right, I'm going to get out in that garden and do some gardening, walk the dog. And she's got me a big list of things to do, my wife, she suggests things to me, and I know what it means is, actually, I want you to do them today. So it'd be like, wouldn't it be nice at some point to decorate the TV room? So what you mean then, Em, is you want me to go to the flipping shed and get a load of paint now then, And other days I just think, do you know what, I'm really not going to do anything. But I think the main thing is that my anxiety is a lot less now I'm not drinking.
And that's a good point. I think everybody's been feeling heightened anxiety during this time. Even the most zen individuals you're going to feel some heightened anxiety. And we talked before about considering being mindful about what news channels you're watching. Some people have taken news apps off of their phone, or they're staying off them for certain times, what you're seeing in your social media feeds. I mean, Millie, have you done anything like that to kind of control the flow? Are you being more mindful about what you're reading, what you're listening to?
Yeah, I am actually. Not so much the news stuff, because I'm kind of able to keep an open mind. I've worked in media for years, so I'm very aware of how a lot of it is purely clickbait.
Right.
So I'm not kind of being sucked in by the headlines I see that are like, we're going to be on lockdown until the end of the year. I'm trying not to sort of get caught up in them. But I think, like, generally I'm not watching any like dark, horrible films. Like, I'm trying to keep everything very like light and airy, and I am trying to sort of cleanse my social media a bit to just, follow people who are being like really upbeat and positive about it. So kind of a mixture.
And it's funny you say that, because the film Pandemic was trending in the top like 3 or 4 on Netflix in the first week.
Yeah, and no, I couldn't do that. I'm watching like reruns of Friends and just like things that make me happy.
Have you been watching The Tiger King?
I have.
Oh my God.
It all.
I think this is probably the most important thing that we get to. Did Carol Baskin kill her husband?
I mean, I think
I'm
like 99% certain.
I watched one, so please don't give the information away.
Well, we don't know. We still don't know, Dave. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. And if anyone wants to comment on that, please share, because that's probably more important than anything else we'll discuss today, quite frankly. So, and also, you know, while you're watching, if you've got questions for Millie, Dave, or myself, put them in the comments. You know, it is a Q&A. We want a kind of sense of community. If you're feeling heightened anxiety, or anything you want to ask, or anything that's come up for you, or anything you want to share that's positive right now, put it in the comments, and we'll try and get to any questions that you ask shortly. I can see a few of them out of the corner of my eye, which is why I keep looking away. Millie, somebody asked me a question to ask you, but they're not they're not able to get on the live.
Right.
So she hasn't quit drinking yet, and we've actually been doing a little bit of work around how she's going to approach it, and she's working on her mindset, and she knows it's the right thing, and she definitely wants to move into an alcohol-free life. But she's been thinking about, well, when this lockdown ends, it's kind of okay now. I do drink at home, but I've got some tools and tactics for dealing with that. But when this lockdown ends, my friends are already talking about a big party. You know, they're going to expect me to break the Prosecco out, and all this social stuff's going to be happening again. Would you have any words or advice or tips around that you can think? Or I put you on the spot, sorry.
Oh, no. That's what we're here for. I think one of the things that I always see is like radical honesty for me, because I think if you come out and you say, you know, I'm on antibiotics, people will say, oh, okay, what antibiotics? Oh, did you know you can drink on most antibiotics? Or if you say, oh, actually I'm driving, they'll say, oh, leave your car here, like we'll come back and get it in the morning. I think if you're just radically honest with the people around you, like I kind of sat my friends down and said, look, drinking's actually making me really unhappy. It's really not agreeing with me. I'm not saying that it's going to be forever. Now it is what I say, it's forever. But at the time I kind of said, look, I'm just going to take a period off. I'm going to see how I feel, and then I'll reassess it then. Like, I think sometimes if you throw forever at them, they're like, what, you're never going to drink again? And you get like bombarded. But if you just say, look, right now, I'm actually not drinking. I'm going to take this time to just see how I feel, see what works for me. I'm still going to come out. I'm still going to be the life and soul of the party. And kind of the proof is in the pudding. I'm quite stubborn. And when I told my friends, they were like, you're going to be so boring. So I thought, right, I'll show you. So on the first night out I did sober, it was my friend's birthday, and I stayed out till 3 a.m. and all my other friends started trickling off at like 1, 2, and I was there with the birthday girl till 3 a.m. and the next day everyone was like, well, you stayed the longest, and I was like, I know I did, I told you I'd still be really fun. And then after that they never harassed me about it again. That's
awesome. And I totally agree. I got told I was going to be boring and it won't last and all this stuff, but I've never heard the phrase radical honesty, but I love that, and I probably will steal it, because if you don't mind, because to me, that was what I did. I was radically honest with people. I just told them like it was, that I was drinking wine every day for over 20 years and it was time for a break. I wanted to see how it felt for me. I didn't say forever. I did probably too early say forever, but and I had open conversations with people about it rather than making excuses. And that actually led to a few people looking in the mirror at their own drinking. And I imagine, if I was to guess, you've probably had some people over that period of time say to you, do you know what, Millie, I'm a friend and I'm worried about my drinking.
Oh, 100%. You become this like sober lighthouse, I find, and people like seek you out on a night out to actually say, oh, I really like what you're doing. Like, I always say, if I go on a hen do, on the first day I feel like the most boring person in the world, and on the last day I feel like the person everyone wants to be. And they all come to me and they're like, oh, you know, I wish I'd been like you from the start. You look so fresh still, you look like you've had a great time and you're going home and you don't need another holiday. So I think gradually you'll see that people will turn to you. And also, if I go out with like one-on-one friends for dinner now, they won't drink, and I say to them, you can drink if you want, it doesn't bother me. And they'll say no. And really you realize that people actually want an excuse to not drink, and you give them the perfect excuse to not drink. So I think you definitely find that.
That's all. And Dave, have you had the, I love that phrase as well, sober lighthouse. I will be writing all these down, they're great. Dave, have you had the sober lighthouse experience? Friends from the past? I had friends from school messaging me that I'd not even had contact with, and they're messaging me saying, Simon, I'm worried about my drinking. Some of them are in this group now, I won't name names, but have you had that, Dave?
Yeah, I have. I mean, in fact, I used to run 60-minute makeover, and they got a Zoom call tonight, and of them don't know that I'm sober now, because a lot of the whole doing the show was based around the after show stuff, you know. And I've even thought if it ever came back, I'm not sure I would do it now, because it'd be a completely different experience for me, you know, because it was mainly a huge piss up. It was literally, I mean, we would go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning and we'd be on set at 7 in the morning. You know, it was a nightmare. And all I ever got from the cameraman was, Dave, you absolutely reek. One night I drank 4 bottles of wine and went to bed. It was a Christmas special in the middle of August. And we treated it like Christmas Eve. And we were playing the piano in the hotel at 5 in the morning, singing Christmas songs, you know.
Jesus.
But yeah, when going back to the question you said to Millie, when I first, because I've been drinking for over 40 years, and I was brutally honest as well. You know, I said, look, I'm going to give it a rest for 3 months to see how I am, you know, see how my health is, because my blood pressure was really, really bad. I was 2 stone heavier than I am now. My marriage was on the rocks. You know, there was a lot wrong with my life. And I think, like what you said, Simon, it wasn't long after you decided to have a break that you realised that actually, if I do the 3 months after that, I'll be back exactly where I was within a week. You know, it wouldn't take me long to actually start to drink 1 bottle a night, and then it'd be a bottle and a half, then it'd be 2. So I then thought, right, I'm gonna try a longer, and I did it like that. And now I just know I'm not gonna drink again. I think you know that, Millie, as well, don't you?
I do, yeah.
I'm not gonna drink again.
Yeah,
we'll hold each other to that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's the best thing I've ever done for myself ever. There's a million benefits for me, you know. And there's days like today that sitting in the garden, it's boiling hot and that, but I've got alcohol-free drinks in the fridge, and you know, I don't really miss it, to be honest. I know I'm 15 months now, which isn't a huge amount, but I really can honestly say I don't really miss it. I don't really get the FOMO.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, for me, I talk about the different stages of sobriety, everything from, you know, when you become aware you've got a problem and you don't know what to do about it. That's like phase 1, this kind of awareness. And then you move into a place of educating yourself, learning. Then you go on to putting that stuff into practice, going out into the real world, going to a gig without drinking. And then eventually you feel this sense of mastering it, and you kind of aren't even thinking about drinking hardly ever. And a lot of people say to me, you know, and probably to you guys too, when does that happen? When will I stop thinking about this? And you know, for me, that was around sort of probably 6 or 7 months. I think the thoughts were few and far between. I don't know whether that was the same sort of thing for you or different. Millie, do you want to go on that one?
Can I just pick you up on that one? Is when we talk about that, how much time did you actually think about drinking when you were drinking? Because it was literally all the time. When I woke up, I would regretted drinking the night before. And then I would go to the phase, I'm not drinking tonight. That's it. I'm definitely not drinking tonight. And that would last to about 2 o'clock. And then the voice would say, maybe you could have a couple tonight and just take it easy. Just don't drink tomorrow. And by 5 o'clock, I was already thinking about how much I could drink. And so when you say that, my main mindset before was always thinking about drinking. And now it isn't.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit.
And that's the difference. And this is what a lot of people find a challenge, is moving from a place where at the start it's just overwhelming thoughts, feeling like this is a big willpower mission, and changing it to a place of, you know, I talk about being a liquid vegan, which is thinking like a vegan, where we're passionate about what we're doing. It's a lifestyle choice. We're proud of who we are and the choice we've made for ourselves. But it's easy to tell someone to do that. You know, how do you move from a place of this feels tough, this is all on willpower, I still have a belief that alcohol's serving me in some way, to being truly free? Maybe that's a better question to ask. John, Millie, you go on that one then.
You know what? I had a very strange experience when I got sober. So for like my first kind of 4 or 5 months, I didn't struggle, which sounds really silly, but I just felt so amazing and so different, because one of the biggest reasons I gave up was because I was really struggling with my mental health, so anxiety and depression. And I gave up and I felt instantly better, like drastically better. So for me, the kind of first few months were like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever done. It's amazing. And then I got to about 5 months, and then I started having really bad anxiety again and really bad panic attacks from like nowhere. And what I've kind of realized is that I think I had used alcohol for so long to kind of like push my emotions down if I was like upset or stressed or anything. And all of a sudden now I was having to learn how to deal with my emotions like organically. So like I just had no idea how to do it. So for me, I went to therapy, and it was the best thing that I've ever done. And I know, Dave, you talk about it as well. And obviously it's quite a privilege to be able to go to therapy if you've got the money to do it, because it is expensive. But for me, I prioritized it over everything else. So I like didn't buy clothes, I like didn't go out eating. And obviously I was saving so much money from not drinking. I was like, well, I'm going to invest it in myself. So I kind of went to therapy, and there's, if you can't afford it, there's so many other great tools out there. There's like free therapy groups, there's therapists on Instagram who like you can just DM with one problem and they'll charge you like a really small fee. But for me it was like the best thing ever to kind of like learn how to deal with my emotions without drinking. And then from then, that's when I kind of got back into a period of learning how to do everything without booze. So mine was kind of up and then right back down, and then kind of petered out, which is a bit different to a lot of people, because a lot of people really struggle at the beginning and then they're like, oh, I've got this thing now, whereas I was like, I've totally got this thing, and then I was like, what? No, I don't have it. And then I kind of got it back again.
Yeah, it does not. It normally happens the other way around, as you say. So, Dave, where would you say you sort of found that place of moving from thinking about drinking, there's willpower involved, to actually realizing that this is a choice you're making for yourself, it's a better life? I mean, can you remember the moment, or was there a sudden sort of flash of inspiration, or like a big light bulb?
I think that my Instagram has been a massive help for me, because I've shared my journey truthfully. So I will share it if I've had a really bad period. And I always find that when I say I don't think about drinking anymore, I've smashed it, a bit like you, Millie, then it'll bite me on the arse. It's almost like creeps up behind me. Do you know what I mean? It's right, I don't think about drinking anymore. And a day later, I'm thinking I could murder a beer now. But it's the coping strategies that the longer you go, the more you get used to it. And it's habit breaking as well. So like what I was thinking this morning was my wife's birthday yesterday, and that's her second birthday that I've celebrated sober. So when you get over the year, you're actually doing things twice, and you're remembering what it was like the last time. You're thinking, actually, a year ago now, I was only 4 months sober, and how was it for me then? And yeah, it was a bit more of a struggle because she had her friends round, popping the champagne, actually Prosecco. But but I just think for me it happened organically, but with the support on my Instagram and meeting people like you, and you know, when I went to the Mindful Drinking Festival, I couldn't believe how many people I knew from this world. And that's another subject we need to talk about, is the friends, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've so many friends in this world, more than I ever had before, but everyone's so humble and genuine and really lovely, authentic people, you know. And all the friends I had before vanished because they're not interested, because I was a big drinker, and it was always, yeah, Dave's coming out, we can get shit-faced and whatever. And you know, it's, my world has changed, but so much for the better, you know, so much.
Do you know what, Dave? I think it's interesting what you said about like you started kind of sharing your journey really on, and that has been such a support to you, because I didn't start Sober Society or even like engaging with the sober community until after I'd had that dip and had therapy. So I didn't have any of that support, and at that time there wasn't really much around. It's only been in like the last couple of years that's kind of stepped up. So for me, I think that would have been such a massive help at the beginning to have people like you, or just like other people sharing their journey. I didn't know anyone else at the time. I was literally doing it all on my own. I didn't have any sober friends. Whereas now, if I have a wobble, I have people like this to reach out to. Like Scott, obviously, like one of my best friends, and we chat. So I think that would have been such a big help to me at the beginning.
Yeah, it's an amazing support group, you know. And now we're doing these things now, and me and Simon are doing this Saturday Zoom thing, which you're a guest on soon, Millie, and people can just join in. And some people use AA, you know, and they're missing the meetings and that, and they can sit in and they can just listen. They can mute their mic, mute the video, and just feel partly that people understand the situation they're in. You know, they might be sitting at home alone thinking, God, I really feel like a drink. And at the end of an hour's conversation, that they feel invigorated and actually, yeah, I can go another few more days. And that's all it needs sometimes, isn't it? Or that day just to get through.
And it's easy to think that it's just you. You're a problem. It's just you. Everyone else is normal. And actually, it's not the case. You know, alcohol's the problem. It's an addictive substance. We got addicted to it. You know, and there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are equally concerned about their drinking. It's just we're actually the lucky ones who've realised there's an issue and we're working on ourselves and doing something about it, rather than just blotting stuff out. So, all right, I'm gonna first of all, I've put both of your Instagrams like up the top there. So if you don't follow Dave or Millie on Instagram, which is probably where you two are kind of more prominent, I'd be right in saying. You know, Dave has used Instagram as his kind of sober journey, and some of the stuff you post is really kind of very open and vulnerable. Sometimes it makes me laugh, sometimes it makes me cry. I'm not going to mention the one where you had a Viagra in your hand, but and Millie does not post anything like that. It's completely different.
There's no Viagra.
Yeah, but Millie, you got your private page as well, haven't you?
I do, yeah. I have 2 pages. So I've kind of, Sober Girl Society is more of a community, and that was kind of started because there wasn't really anything at the time for kind of millennial women. So that's kind of why that started. And then I have my personal page as well, where I speak a bit more about my own journey. So like my page is for me, and Sober Girl Society is like for everyone.
Yeah, and you've got like 90,000 followers. You're literally just so popular. It's just incredible. although Dave seems to be catching you up, but I'm miles.
Well, I'm not really, but I think Millie's the Instagram legend.
No,
see, I think you both are actually. Yeah, and so many people are inspired by what you guys do, and it's just it's incredible. And that alone is something that kicks you on your own journey when you realise that what you're doing is helping other people, and it's kind of humbling. Giving up your time and reaching out to people is just awesome. So I've put anyway. If you don't follow either of these two, it's over that way. Actually, I'm pointing the wrong way because, as Millie said, the camera's the wrong way around. But do check them out on Instagram because they do some amazing stuff, share some really inspiring posts and stories on there, and definitely do that. Right, let us look at some comments. What have we got now? This is the only thing with this software, I can't see people's names. So someone said, I seem to lose a lot of friends once you stop drinking. So Dave, you said you lost a few friends. I lost 2, and then one was a very good friend, and then she kind of had a period of time where she was in conflict with my choice, and she now doesn't drink, and we're better friends than ever. So I've only lost 1. Millie, what was your experience of that?
I haven't lost any friends, as in they've said like we won't hang out with you anymore, but I definitely like don't get invited to certain things, or like I don't necessarily see people as much. Like I have some friends who that it was purely just going out and partying, so I don't really see them as much, but I still speak to them. And then I have other friends who I kind of do stuff with, so no one's kind of like dropped completely, but friendship has like changed beyond belief for me with like all my friends.
And I think one of the things that was true for me is I actually made new friendships because I was doing different activities. Like one that sticks in my head is a boot camp that I joined not long after I quit. And I made some really wonderful new friends where the whole thing wasn't based around alcohol. And it felt like really true and honest friendship, not just...
Well, when I first became sober, Janie Lee Grace, she was holding these things in Dalston. And the Rock Sober boys were there, and Claire Pooley. And I thought I'd go along, and I was probably 6 weeks into my sobriety.
Oh,
and
that's when I met you.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's packed there, wasn't it? But I was literally, I didn't know where to go in or not. I went all the way there, and I was hovering around outside. And I thought, what can I have to lose here? And I met you, Millie. I met the Rock Sober Boys, Claire. So many different people that night that I know quite well now. And you're talking about Scott. Scott was there, wasn't he? And we've done a panel talk with Scott since about male sobriety. And it's opened a whole new world for me, because I realised before that remember I'm slightly older than you guys, but my friends are in that ilk of, when you go out, it is for a big night out. You know, a couple of beers after work is a session, you know. So I was trying to think, what you say, Millie, is true. Have I lost them? I haven't lost them, but they would probably feel uncomfortable now with me there because I don't drink. And I would say to them, look, it doesn't really bother me. But again, I don't think I would want to be in that environment anymore. I think I would have a couple and then say, look, guys, I'm off anyway, because I find it a bit boring now. I think that's quite common, you know.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, Dave. Yeah, about boring as well, because there's some things you just don't want to do. It just may not interest you any longer.
And the conversation as well, that starts drifting off. And, you know, I'm not on my sober horse here, but I literally... I've met so many interesting people now through Instagram, and, you know, so many. And I always say, I think everyone I've met is so humble.
Exactly. I think Millie can't hear us. She's lost her sound. No,
Simon, come on. Anyway, about Millie.
Yeah. We'll talk about her behind her back.
Her boyfriend told me.
Oh, damn. I've sent her a message on the chat. You might want to message her on Instagram, Dave. Just tell her to come off and come back on again.
Yeah, I will.
I'm going to read a couple of the comments out while you do that. If you message her.
Yeah.
So sorry, this is the joys of live video and technology. Millie's lost her sound and she can't hear, so we're sorry about that. But Dave and I are still very much here, and I'm sure Millie will be back on in a minute. We're just having a few technical issues. Yeah, she's come off, and I think she's going to come back on, and hopefully it'll work. Yeah. It may not. Fingers crossed. So someone said, totally awesome, Dave. Loving the insights. And 15 months is awesome, Dave.
Thank you. Loving the insides.
I don't know if it's your insides or your insights. I mean, they're both pretty beautiful things. So I was going to share this one with Millie, but obviously she's just had a technical glitch. So lovely to see a younger sober person with Millie. Just joined your Instagram page. Thanks for joining us. And that is, I should wait just to check if she gets back on. She's obviously got a glitch going on, but I was going to.
Well, I'm like the Father Christmas of Instagram, you know, like I'm the grandpappy, really, because I'm a little bit older. But I think I've got a totally different experience with my drinking, because back in the day, you didn't have to have a low content. Here she is.
Can hear you.
Oh.
All of a sudden, you both just went silent, and I was like, "What's going on?" Then I tried to get on my phone, and it wouldn't work.
Oh my god! Dave was talking about you behind your back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
On purpose?
Oh, lovely. No, I was saying, Millie, about my different way. People are saying how lovely it is to see a younger person on that's sober. They were talking about me.
Yeah, they're not. I was going to say they're not talking about Dave either.
No, all right. But yeah, in my day, it was very different, because we could go into a pub at 14 without ID in that, and they get ID'd at 25 or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what's good about these groups and about Instagram, because we all come across it from a different perspective, don't we? All different experiences, and you know, there's so many people at different age groups and that. And like, I won't ask your age, Millie, but my son's 26, and on my Instagram today, I put a post about being a feeder. And when he used to come out with me, he used to literally try and get home on the train absolutely ratted. But now when we go out, he doesn't actually drink when we go out. You know, so there's a whole wave of younger people that his thing is that he's bored of it. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. It's not a lifestyle change per se. It's just, I don't really want to do it anymore, Dad. So, and he doesn't. He rarely drinks now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you know there was Chris who came and did a talk at the Mindful Drinking Festival? He was on Love Island season 1.
Yeah.
So he's now he does like really long periods of sobriety. So he does between like 6 months and 18 months, and a lot of it he uses as like a productivity tool. And he was saying, which I thought was such an interesting point, that alcohol gets you to the same place every time. So he said, like, he is bored of it now, because he says, yeah, it might get you to this like place where you're having fun, but he was like, it's the same thing every time. And he said the only thing that changes is where you choose to have your hangover. So he was like, it doesn't matter if you're like going into London for a night or if you're in Las Vegas. He was like, because once you enter a certain point, you don't register where you are, you don't know, like it could be anywhere. He said all you're deciding on is where you choose to have your hangover. And I was like, that's a really good point. Like, just gets you to the same place. It's boring doing the same thing over and over and over again.
And you know, you've been reading that book Drink, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, well, I've been reading it as well, and it's have you read it, Simon?
I've got it. I'm right under this desk, actually. I've not read it yet.
It's so fascinating to see the different stages that your alcohol level takes you and what it does to you, and it's enough to put you off anyway. You know, it's fascinating, isn't it?
I'll share a link to that, because I don't know, I can't remember who the author is. So
it's Professor David Nutt, and do you know what? It's a very interesting book because he wears two hats almost. So he, interestingly, I think he was a former. He was like the head of something, and he basically got
government money.
He said alcohol was the most dangerous drug. So he has that hat, but then he also interestingly owns a wine bar with his daughter. So he kind of talks about like different aspects of drinking, but it's very like straight down the middle. It's like, these are the facts and you decide what you want to do with those facts. So there's some amazing statistics in there, but he doesn't really go either way. So it's like a great one if you don't necessarily want to be like lectured, or if you want to be into it, just to be like, wow, these are the hardcore facts.
Right, I will read that. I've got plenty of time on my hands right now, so I definitely will. Right, so I was just reading through the comments, which is why I was looking in the opposite direction. Someone said that they're following you now, Millie, on Instagram, and which is awesome. Someone said it's never. I'm sorry, I say someone. I can't read the names because I have to open the video and then the sound's going to play. So I've only got Facebook user said. I apologise for not being personal there. Someone said it's never too late to stop. I was 51 when I did. So was Heather, who's one of the moderators in our group. I'm now 66 and 14 years sober. How cool is that?
Really well done. That's amazing.
And it isn't ever too late.
I was 75 when I gave up drinking. So.
Millie's 50, but this is an example. This is an example of how your skin changes and you just look so much better. Sober Dave, I've just followed you on Instagram.
Thank you.
Good morning from California.
Today's my 90 days. Well done. Sorry, I'm reading them out.
No, read away, Dave. You do it. This is a joint thing. Someone's put, what time is the Zoom thing on Saturday? So, Millie, are you on the Zoom, Saturday? Is it next week you're coming?
A couple of weeks, I think.
On this week, in a few weeks, I think.
So Claire Pooley's on tomorrow, who wrote the Sober Diaries, which is like, that was such a big book for me. I don't know about you guys. And Julia Carson, who wrote, I can't remember what her book's called. Sober Positive, yes. So she's on tomorrow with William Porter, Dave's on, and the girls from Sober Experiment as well. And that's at 4 p.m. UK time. It's actually not on Zoom anymore. We need to stop saying Zoom because there's a separate Sober Saturday Facebook group, which you can get to. If you look at the about in the Be Sober group that we're in now, there's a link to that group, and it's in that group, just like we're doing this right now. And I've got a feeling Millie's on next week, but maybe it's the week after.
No, it's Lee from Rock Sober's on next week.
Oh, yeah. So it's the week after that.
Yeah. I'm with the other Lee, I think.
That's it.
And the Gay Sober,
Yeah.
And he's his stories today is hilarious.
No, he's
have a look on his stories on
Instagram.
It's so funny. It's really funny.
And he's joining me here next Friday, so which is going to be really cool. I've got so many things I want to ask him. So it's right. What other comments have we got? Question: I used to be out all the time when I was younger, and drinking is what I thought was having fun. My boyfriend is only back at weekends, so now to keep myself uplifted is wanting a drink to give me that fun feeling. I probably drink 3 to 4 times a week, but it's 2 bottles of white mixed with sparkling water, but still, of white wine mixed with sparkling water, but still. I don't have many friends now due to my drinking, so just feel lonely and like that buzz that reminds me of my fun days. So it says question, but I guess the question is, what do we do about that? What advice would you offer? Because there wasn't a question mark on the end, but I totally get that must feel kind of uncomfortable, and you want to know how to change, how to get some forward momentum with that. So who wants to take that one?
I don't mind. I'll give it a crack.
Go for it.
I think there's a couple of things. The first one, because obviously, sorry, again, I can't see names, but you've said that you don't necessarily have any friends because of your drinking, but there are so many people like on Instagram, on this Facebook group, who are willing to be your friend. And they don't care whether you drink or not. They just like you for you, and they want to help you. So the first thing is reach out. There are just so many people that you can talk to, and as we've just discussed, connection is like essential. One of the other things for me is I still love that ritual of like a non-alcoholic drink. So I will go through the whole, like, I will get a fancy glass. I will make sure I've got crushed ice. I will get a lemon wedge in there. I'll get some sparkling water. And even just that, like, making of it and then the sitting down and the unwinding, for me, is like the whole thing. And then once I have the drink, and it is like a weird placebo, and I do have to add the disclaimer that for some people that might be triggering. So that's always something to bear in mind. But for me, it's like that sit down and that, oh, okay, just having like a mindful moment. And that doesn't necessarily have to be that white wine. It could be any of these amazing like non-alcoholic options. For me, that's a key thing.
Yeah, I see. That's the one I'm on at the moment, Barago.
I love Barago.
So yeah, and it's so true what you just said, and I've known that it works for quite a lot of people. Find that placebo effect. They had that ritual, and I've got exactly like you just said. I've got a chunky special alcohol-free glass, and it works for me. I was panic buying tonic water. What the hell? that would have been a spare room full of Shiraz a few years ago.
Yeah.
Right, let's go for the next question. Most of my sober friends have been online, but after some time and lots of chatting, I've met up with them too. I still have my old friends, but obviously I don't drink with them anymore. So I meet them in the day for coffee and lunch on my terms. And I found out which ones are my true friends. Keep reading and posting, and hopefully you'll make some new sober friends. Yeah, that's a great comment.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so how do you meet new friends? Which you've just answered, Millie. How do you meet new friends who don't want to drink and still want to have fun? For me, as I said, I actually joined a boot camp. I made a sober bucket list of things I wanted to do. The boot camp wasn't actually on there, but I joined a boot camp and I met loads of new people when I wasn't drinking, and neither were they. And we ended up socializing together and going out where alcohol wasn't involved. And sure, if they were going out for a boozy do, I'd probably pass on it, or I might go for a few hours until they got annoying and started repeating themselves and shouting in my ear and not listening. But I made loads. I suppose it's getting up and doing it, and actually maybe planning ahead for it, or and online you can just find so many wonderful people to connect with as well, as we just said. What about you, Dave? I mean, we talked about friends quite a bit today, but it's coming up time and time again in the comments.
Well, I mean, like, there's Emily, who we love, Sober and Social. She does lots of things, and I went on a sober bar crawl with her in Mayfair, and it was 25 quid for the ticket or something, and that was 2 alcohol-free cocktails in each bar and some nibbles. And these bars were like A-list bars. You would never normally go there, and we had such a crack all night. And I said to Rachel, was there as well. And I said to them, what were you like when you were drinking? Because it was such a buzzy night, and there's so many different socials, Join Club Soda, they have loads. And I think what it is, people think there's nothing without drinking, but there's everything without drinking. You just think, well, the question is, what am I going to do if I don't drink anymore? I've got nothing left. But there's so much, it opens the whole world out. I think I was looking through life like through a little blinkered lens like that, and it just exploded when I gave up drinking. And as I said before, that the amount of friends that I've met, sober friends, is fantastic. And I I mean, I've even do you know Lauren from We Love Lucid?
Oh yeah.
I've booked a sober holiday with her. Whether it happened or not, I don't know. But
Oh yeah.
The end of July. But that'd be, you know, put on some other time. But that's 4 days in Rhondda, a sober holiday, and I've already had one of them. So again, it's second time around. I would have never thought about doing that before. But it's like a little mini adventure, you know, midnight kayaking and a bit of rock climbing and a real lovely sort of thing. So when you actually look out there, there's a million things to do when you're sober. And of course, you've got more money and more energy as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's websites like meetups where there's local groups with different interests, you know, whether you like board games, knitting, pottery, or like Dave said, rock climbing and kayaking. There's groups around that post on meetups that you can actually join according to your likes. And this is where, you know, when you journal, when you start thinking about actually what lights me up, what things really make me smile that I just love doing. We often don't even stop to think about it. And the making sure that what you're doing in your life aligns with the stuff that lights you up. It sounds so obvious, but I forgot to do that for 20 years. And and then just forget what lights me up. Okay,
I think oh, go on.
Sorry, go, Millie, go. Sorry.
I was going to say what you said about joining the boot camp, I think is really interesting, because I think when you're sober as well, you feel like this real pressure to find sober friends. But I always say to people, like, it's not necessarily, just like you wouldn't necessarily say 2 people are going to get married because they're both single. Like, just because you have sobriety in common, don't feel bad if you don't feel this like connection. If you actually find friends who like doing other things that you like doing, so say like the boot camp, the chances are, even if they are drinkers, they're probably still going to be quite aligned with what you like doing, which is getting up early in the morning, going to boot camp, like self-development, expanding their skills. And they're probably likely to not be big drinkers. So although they might be drinkers, I think they're more likely to align with things that you like doing, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense.
I don't think the pressure always needs to be on sober friends. I think it's just friends who align with what you like doing.
Yeah.
That is so true. And the interesting thing was just like happened with the other experiences when I quit, you know, a lot of them started getting interested. As you probably say, they're very conscious about their diet and what they're putting inside themselves, but they do still drink to a degree. And a lot of them took interest in my story, and a couple of them wanted to know how I quit and what I did. So you're absolutely right. That's a great point. It really is. Okay. Somebody's making cake with their kids, which is fantastic and a very positive thing to be doing. My son, who's 15, we've been trying to sort of find the opportunity in the lockdown. You know, what can we do that we don't normally do, that we never get time to do? And we made like a wheel of fortune, only out of card, and we put different activities on it. And every morning he's been spinning the wheel, and that will be the activity we do that day. So we've had like a sports day in the garden, we've had cooking, we've had movies, and all the rest of it. And the drinking me, I just wouldn't have been interested. I wouldn't have shown up. I wouldn't have been present.
No.
It's those sort of things. Okay. So somebody's put, I'd say you can't change future habit, reminding yourself of past fun. I went through the same battle, but if you're going to reminisce, make sure you're remembering the bad. The glamour of the past fun can be hard to get past. Oh, that's an interesting point. Who wants to answer that one?
Oh, I talk about the goal, and Dave, you can go, but I'll add some insight on the end.
I just think it's down to your personal experience. I mean, I'm a really sensitive person. I'm a deep thinker as well. So I think about all of it, to be honest, but that might not suit everyone else. You know, I started thinking, I was talking to someone about a year ago about all the good times that I had. And then I really struggled a couple of days after, thinking, do you know what? I really, really miss it now. Like, because I've divorced myself from alcohol, and that I can never have that back. Whether that was that part of my journey, I don't know. But I kind of, for my own self-care, try and think about it all, just so I own it, if that makes sense. But I think it's quite an individual thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Millie? It totally does. Yeah, Millie, go on. I'm interested to hear what you've got to say to that, because that's an interesting point. Go on.
I have actually named this phenomenon. So I read, it was a psychologist. She was talking about heartbreak, and she was saying that you go through this phase in heartbreak called like the rose tinted glasses phase, where you only look at the, like, you forget all the bad things about that relationship and you only remember the good things. And I always say that when you break up with alcohol, you go through a rosé tinted glasses phase.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Oh my God.
That's going on the list with the lighthouse.
That was a light bulb moment. And so I always think, like, and some of the tips that she gives are, you know, like, play the tape forward, which is, you know, thinking about, actually, this is how my night started, but how did my night end? How did I feel the next day? One thing I always do is search the word hungover in my WhatsApp chats, and that always, like, brings up these, like, me saying, oh my God, I'm so hungover, I'm never drinking again. Writing down a list of, like, how you felt when you were hungover, like, or like a description of a typical hangover, and just, like, reading that. I think the hardest thing is we have pictures everywhere of our amazing, like, drinking moments, but there's no pictures of the hangovers, there's no pictures of you feeling, like, really anxious or really low. So, like, try not to look at those pictures too much, I think, is one, like, because they don't tell the whole story at all. And if you are going to look at those pictures, make sure that you're telling yourself the entire story. I think they're little things that I do if I find myself, like, romanticizing my drinking.
And it's like, I honestly, rosé tinted glasses is brilliant, because as soon as I saw that, I thought rose tinted glasses. Why did I not think of rosé?
I think Millie's writing a cliche book, actually.
I am, yeah.
It could be, the Sober Girls cliche, the Sober Girls book of cliches. But they're great, are they? Because they stick in people's minds. They're brilliant. But like Dave said as well, I totally felt like it was a relationship. You know, Mrs. Shiraz had always loved me and got me through everything. She eased my anxiety. She was there to make life fun. She, you know, she de-stressed me. And then she turned on me. It felt like she was suddenly cheating and being nasty. And it felt like it all went toxic. And in the end, I knew I had to break up. And I actually wrote a breakup letter, which I put on my blog. And a lot of people who I speak to, they read that, they might write their own, they might share it in the group if they feel brave enough to do it. I love it when people do that. So it's kind of however you want to frame it and what works for you. I mean, some people do hold fond memories of times when they were drinking, but was drinking the real reason you had those memories? It was more, to me, it's the event and the people you're with, because for every good memory I've got, like I often say to people, if you went to, in fact, I've got a great example. So I went to one of my best friend's weddings a few years ago, and I knew everybody there. We danced all night. Yes, I drank because it was years ago, and I had a great time. Actually, no, so I didn't drink at that one. That was after I quit. So I danced all night, completely sober, and had an amazing time. The event was awesome. The people were awesome. I went to another wedding where I think I was invited as a kind of fill the space guest end of last year. I only knew the person getting married, and I kind of knew her husband. I didn't know anybody else there. I was bored by 10 p.m. Now, the drink in me would have absolutely, we've lost Millie again, I think. The drink in me would have, it still would have been a crap event, and one would have been a great event, whether drink was involved or not involved. That's what I was trying to say. And and you compare the two, they were the same thing. It was two weddings. I didn't drink it either. One was amazing, one was crap. So I don't think alcohol makes it a great event or not.
No, it's funny what you say about the breakup letter, though, because I wrote one as well. Because
it hates me. I don't know why.
Oh, darling, it's the cliches. There's only a certain amount you can use. No, because the alcohol for me was like a Marilyn Monroe woman, and she seduced me and wore all these sexy, lovely clothes, but then started bossing me about and telling me. So my divorce letter that I wrote was 2 words, beginning with F.
I imagine it was.
Yeah, and that's how I've done it. We all got our own way, though, haven't we, of dealing with it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like we were talking about on the Zoom last week, which Lisa's just corrected me that actually you can join via Zoom as well. So follow the link because it's in the about on this page. But we were talking about, somebody asked us, well, how do I get a Sober Toolbox? As if to say, do I go to B&Q and get this thing? But Dave correctly kind of answered that actually your Sober Toolbox is bespoke to you, and it's part of the learning phase and the growth of, some things work, some things, like almost trying on a pair of shoes, different tools that work, and some fit really nicely and some don't.
But look at it like different tradesmen. You all need different tools for your job. So some people have different ways of doing it. It's so individual to each person and their history.
I think they change as you go as well. Like some of the things that worked for me when I first stopped drinking, I've evolved past those now. So it's not like one toolbox and that's it. It's kind of like quit lit was really important for me at the start, reading every book I could around sobriety. Like now not so much. Like I'm reading like drink, but then I won't read some if they come out. So it totally depends, I think.
That was exactly what happened for me. You know, I was listening to podcasts every day, reading every day. It was like I was studying for an exam. And I still have a reminder on my phone every month, and it says new quit lit, get a new book. And you know, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and I'll dip in and dip out. But then groups like this keep me engaged, and I do coaching with people and stuff, so I'm kind of on it anyway. I was talking the other day about like a level of ongoing keeping your toe in the water. You know, some people do a 30-day program, like maybe the alcohol experiment, and then they stop, and then maybe 2-3 weeks later they find themselves back down the rabbit hole. I do think you need that ongoing something, whatever it is for you, and that is in that Sober Toolbox. Okay, we've got a few more comments. I'm mindful of your time, guys. We've got
nothing better to do.
We'll stay on all night. We'll do a 24-hour sober-thon. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Someone was just asking if it's too late as they are older. I'm 52 and so glad I've given up 19 months sober. That's awesome.
That is more than me. Well done.
Someone said, I think we should organise an alcohol-free party with music, maybe karaoke when this horrible virus is over. Let's all meet. Claire from Surrey. Yes.
I don't know if you want me sing, Claire. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I'm in Surrey, Claire, right now. So that's absolutely, we should do that. I love those sort of things. I've always been fearful. Like this group's got 10,500 members in it, and I'm always fearful of organising an event in case nobody turns up. But I'm sure they would, but we should totally do that. Right, what else have we got? Somebody said day one for me, which is awesome in terms of if you just start to come forward. If it's a setback, jump on my YouTube channel because there's loads of tips around how to handle that, how to get forward momentum for it. I saw a phrase the other day, and it was talking about the language we use with ourselves, not calling it like a relapse or something like that. And it used the term falling forwards. So yeah, you've fallen, but you're falling with forward momentum. And I quite like that. It's stuck.
That's my kind of phrase, that is.
You can use that one as well. Put it in your cliche box.
Oh, another cliche, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was great. It just really stuck. I thought, yeah, falling forwards. I like that. Yeah, I've had a trip, but I'm going forwards. There's forward momentum always.
Yeah.
So, but if it's your day one when you've literally made your decision today, then all power to you. And I'm glad you're showing up here either way.
But that's not just day one sometimes, is it? Because it takes quite an effort to get to that day, doesn't it? You know, for me, it did. It was a few months. And then I thought, you know, I got up one day and I thought, right, I just felt it was right that day. So well done. You know, and also some people say, oh, I'm only 90 days sober. And I say, well, why don't you rephrase it to, I'm 90 days sober?
Yeah.
And it's so different, you know?
So different. I was fixated with days at the start. You know, I think probably because I do a lot of running, so I like my data when I feel like I'm achieving something. I was forever looking at the app, and I subsequently, I mean, I can't even remember the last time I looked at it now. And it did help me, and it does help some people. And the other way is to work it out as a percentage score. Like, so if you've had 1 day drinking out of 10 days, 1 day drinking, 10 days sober. Oh no, I don't want to get into maths, but you know, 90% success-ish.
Yeah.
Because although that was 11, but let's not go there. But what I'm saying is work it out as a percentage, and it really does show you how well you've done. You know, when was the last time you were 95% alcohol free? And you know, thinking about how you're going to handle any bumps in the road, you know, the language you use with yourself, the way you're going to count days if you feel counting days is appropriate, or whether you give yourself a percentage score. You know, just look where you were and where you are now. Your forward momentum.
Simon, your maths isn't anywhere near as good as Millie's cliches, mate.
No.
I have got a count. Well, it's only because I said if you've had 1 day 1 day drinking and 10 days sober.
I'll leave it.
That's 11. I couldn't work it out. So let's not.
I'm like what you said about like the way you're phrasing it and stuff. I was reading a book on meditation this week, and it was basically saying that if you like meditation is good to do like in a routine, but if you skip a meditation session and you beat yourself up or you make yourself feel guilty about it, you are completely like defeating the point of meditation in the first place. And I think it's quite similar with being alcohol free. If you beat yourself, like if you do 200 days and then you do one off, like you're completely defeating the point by beating yourself up. Like just get back on it. And someone else actually said that they say theirs is like 200 minus 1 or like 300 minus 2.
Exactly.
That's such a nicer way to put it. There is no point beating yourself up. It will not serve you in any way.
And you know, my wife, she drinks, but she's got an app on her phone that marks the days that she doesn't drink. And that really, really helps her, because there's some days she's umming and ahhing and she thinks, actually, she'll look at her app and think, I've actually drank 2 days this week. I won't tonight. And last week she drank 1 day in a whole week and didn't even realise it. So, you know, that's another brilliant thing.
It really is. And I think, Millie, you said, the word failure came up as we were talking. I think it was you that, said that. It just stuck in my mind. And, I kind of think, what is a failure? Like, just like I talk to people about, well, what is success? What is happiness? We often don't take the time to define exactly what that is for us. And to me, I guess your failure would be if you actually just stopped trying. I'm just not bothering anymore. So as long as you're showing up and you're trying, whether you're drinking every other day, drinking every day, but you're still putting work in and there's some level of momentum, you're absolutely not a failure. I think you're a failure if you give up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And look at Africa. She's 6 or 7 times it took to become sober. She's a life coach, and she uses each time as a learning experience, because it is. It's the way you perceive it and deal with it. Snakes and ladders. Sometimes you're going to throw a 6 and then go down go down a snake or down a snake, isn't it?
That's as bad as my maths.
Your maths and me, my games.
That's the thing that. Oh, go on.
No, go on.
I was going. It's like you wouldn't necessarily try and run a marathon like straight away. You do like a 5K and then you'd be like, okay, I can do a 5K. Cool. Right now I'm going to try a 10K. That is all good learning. There's no such thing as like a like you say, a failure. As long as you learn from it, it's not a failure at all. Yeah,
right. And even with a 5K, you go and do a park run, which, you have got that in America. So you will know what I'm talking about. But even if you do a 5K and you walk half of it, or you stop for a breather on the way, you still get to the finish line. And funny enough, I was actually doing some coaching with somebody earlier, Millie, and I actually used exactly what you just said about, you're thinking about the marathon when we haven't even put our trainers on. Let's at least just, they were worrying about things way off in the future when at least let's just go for a jog around the park first and see how that feels before we start, trying to be the new Mo Farah.
Another interesting thing that come up for me then is Em was meant to be running the marathon before it is postponed, but she's been going for a run lately and it's been terrible. She's like, I just can't do it. But that's a little bit like being sober, isn't it? You have your good days where you're really, really, you're smashing it and you're thinking, do you know what? I've had a really good day. And then you have your other bad training days where you're worrying about it and struggling and thinking, God, that one which is knocking on the door. And, when you look at it like that, it's a bit different, isn't it? You're not all heroes where you actually, well, I've stopped drinking and everything is fantastic. Rosé coloured glasses, tinted rosé tinted glasses. That's what I say on my Instagram, I share it because I think it's really important for people to know in the beginning or whatever stage they are in their journey that it's not always easy, and we're not, because I think it helps people to know, if they're having a bad day or they have a drink, or it's life, it normalizes it more rather than this peer thing where we're all up here and we haven't drunk for whatever and we've cracked it, because it's not as easy as that.
One of my favourite, have you read Catherine Gray's book, The Unexpected Joy?
Oh yeah.
Sober. one thing she says, I can't remember the exact wording she uses for the first
Yeah,
word.
cliche.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're going to enjoy it. It's like sobriety is like 95% amazing, 5% savage. And it is true. Like there is some really, really hard things. It's like you say, some days are easier than others. Like some days you're going to be like, oh, I've absolutely got this. And then some days you'll be like, no, I don't have this. And it's all okay. It's all okay.
And that's what it is. That Sober Toolbox. You know, you know you've got people around you to lean on, shoulders to cry on. I mean, God, before I quit, and I had that massive internal conflict of wanting to stop, wanting to carry on drinking. I mean, funny enough, I went out for a run with my wife. I'd not drunk for one day, and this was huge for me. And I was like, I've got to not drink again tonight. This was the next day. And we were running down the country lane and my head was like a washing machine with all these thoughts. And this was savage. And I burst into tears while we were running and she was hugging me in the street. I had tears streaming down my face like a big baby. I actually did drink that night, but I definitely learned from it. I didn't feel like it at the time. It was tough. It was savage. But I look, as the days and the weeks went past that, I really realized that I learned some lessons there at that time. And it was part of my journey of growth. And it isn't always meant to be at that time. There can be bumps in the road. There can be learning opportunities as we go forward. But I wasn't a failure. No.
And they always say anyone successful or amazing has a story where they've come through something really, really difficult. Like it's not, oh, my life's been plain sailing and I was handed this. Like people who make the most out of their life have been through really, really hard times and have these incredible comeback stories.
Exactly. So there's a couple more comments. I don't want to keep you for ages because we're on an hour. So I think I can't see the name of who posted this comment, but I think it's James Cantlon, who's actually a friend of my wife's, and he came and did some work at our house. And I was talking about my journey, and he's like, "Oh, I've been sober for 18 years." Just like, what? I think James is about 40-ish. Because you're probably the same age as Michelle, my wife, and he's put. It was hard to get past for a bit. The initial stages. No, that can't. No, someone's put James. Wow, 18 years, alcohol free is fantastic. So maybe life begins at 40, and even more sober fun to come. And there's another comment which isn't from James. My husband and I drank together for almost 18 years, and it didn't really affect our marriage. No real fights, etc. Loads of fun. But the main issue was my physical and mental health. I want to be the best mother and wife I can be. And alcohol did hold me back from both of them and what I deserved. So, and absolutely, but my wife and I drank together for over 20 years and it became a ritual. Millie was talking about a ritual, a habit. We just did it every night. But I was literally my stomach was in knots when even the thought of not drinking for one day. But I was gentle with myself and I took baby steps and just kind of eased myself forward into it. And eventually I got to where I wanted to be. So, okay, there's a few more comments, but maybe I'll reply to some of those just with text because I didn't want to kind of go over an hour. So both of you, if people want to connect with you here in the group, Dave, do you want to go first? How do they find you, and what's the best place to connect with you?
Well, my main place is Instagram. You can find me at Sober Dave, and I do post today, sharing my journey, really, good or bad or funny, as you say, and that's me.
They certainly make me laugh. I love following your posts. They're just so honest and open. They always brighten my day. And Millie, if anyone wants to connect with you, where would they go?
Well, unfortunately, there is no Viagra on my page, just as you just said. But you can either say Sober Girl Society up there, which is a community for women who don't drink, or you have my personal page, which is just at Millie Gooch, so my first name and surname.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely connect with both of these two. Instagram, if you don't or you don't jump on Instagram as much as you should do, these two are definitely people you should absolutely be following for inspiration and so vulnerability and just pure honesty and lots of smiles as well. So thank you so much for both coming on. I've absolutely loved this.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we'll See everybody soon. I'll be back next Friday for another live. And yeah, guys, thanks again. It's been awesome.
Lovely to see you, Millie.
And you guys. See you later. Bye,
See you
everyone.
later. Bye.